Are you feeling stuck in your developer career? Do you feel like things will never click for you? In this episode, we're gonna show you a surprisingly simple way to get you unstuck as a developer.
Welcome to the hexdevs podcast, the podcast that helps you become an expert developer. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Thiago.
And we are the hosts of the hexdevs podcast.
It's very easy to feel stuck as a developer. This profession demands so much knowledge. There are so many things to learn, and everything changes so quickly. So you're probably feeling like things will never click for you, and it's not very useful or very helpful to think like that. Maybe you start asking, why am I so dumb? Or maybe you start thinking that you don't have a programmer's brain, feel that you'll never understand anything, that you'll never be able to code, or even if you have some experience, sometimes you just feel stuck. There's a lot to fix, so many bugs going on. You don't feel like you have what it takes to be a professional developer. Those thoughts, they're not helpful, are they? The way we talk to each other, and even the way we think about ourselves and the way we talk to ourselves impacts our performance. It's not self-help stuff. This is how our brain works.
Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett is one of my favorite neuroscientists ever. There is a video where she talks a bit about how the power of words is in the wiring of your brain. She has an entire chapter talking more about this in her book called 7.5 Lessons About the Brain. Basically, what she says, actually, what she found from her research is that we regulate each other's nervous system when we talk to each other. So, for example, when you say something nice or kind to a friend, their nervous system might interpret that as something good. As a result, they will feel good, and they might even be kind to someone else. If, for example, someone is bullying you, your nervous system will build up all of these negative things, will try to protect you, and it's a really bad experience. And that affects your entire day, and if you are exposed to that almost every day, it will for sure affect your life. So the way that we talk to each other, and that includes ourselves, is really important. That means when you get stuck and you notice that you are treating yourself really bad, saying bad things about yourself, for example, oh, I should have known this. I should already know how to fix this. I am so dumb. All of these thoughts, they are not helpful.
So whenever you're feeling down or feeling stuck, you can use this guide to help you get unstuck. The purpose of this guide is to help you change your mindset, change your perspective about things. It's not just about others, but about yourself as well, which is really important.
So let's learn how to do that with the Unstuck guide for developers. Here is how it works. We will start with an example that is not helpful. Maybe it's that negative inner voice in your head that is not helping you at all. Although they don't help you solve the problem, they are really helpful in making you notice that it's time to change your perspective. Then we have a more constructive thought to help you see things from a different perspective. Our brains are really good at making us believe that what we feel and think is true, even when it's not. The third part is a set of open-ended questions. When you say to yourself a statement like, I don't know how to fix this, or this is not for me, guess what? Your brain literally understands, oh, okay, we don't know this, so there's no problem for me to solve. But when you ask open-ended questions, your brain will open up for more perspectives. We try to pick up other situations, other solutions that were not available to you because you were thinking closed thoughts. So if you want to get closer to getting unstuck, it's really important to change your questions.
In summary, we start with a negative inner voice that doesn't help you, then a thought that can help you change your perspective, and a question that will get you closer to a solution. All right, let's get started. So, the first example, maybe you're thinking, I am so dumb. Well, that's not really useful, right? So, the thought that can help you see things from a different perspective can be, I'm not the only one struggling to transition into tech. I am doing what I can. And then you ask the question, is this how I want to be feeling? What can I learn from this situation?
Here's another example. I will never understand any of this. Here is a more constructive way. Feeling frustrated is natural. I can choose to see this as an opportunity to develop my problem solving skills. Open ended questions that you can replace are, what am I missing? Who can I reach out to and ask for help?
Okay, here's the third example. Maybe you're thinking, I don't know enough to figure out what's going on. Well, I'm learning and I'm getting better every day. Figuring things out is part of the journey. And then you ask the question, what makes more sense to do now? What questions can I ask?
Ready for another one? I am so slow at coding. Everyone else is faster than me. Well, there's no way I can know for a fact how other people are doing. Besides that, everyone is different and has their own pace. An open ended question, what assumptions am I making?
Here's another example that is probably very familiar to a lot of people. I'm not good enough at programming. But you can say, well, I am good enough. This is a moment of frustration and I choose to take care of myself. And then you ask the question, how else can I think about my coding journey?
And the last example of the guide is I will never get an early career developer job. I'm getting scared. A more constructive way to see this is it's a tough market out there for anyone without experience. To be fair, even experienced developers are getting rejected. The questions that you may use are what is possible? What are my choices?
These are very interesting questions. So, for example, the last one, I will never get an early career developer job. This is very true. People think that. It's also true that it is a tough market out there. And it's also true that even experienced developers get rejected because that happened to me as well. When I was interviewing many years ago, I was rejected. I have a lot of experience, and my other friends who are very experienced, they also get rejected. So it's kind of part of being a developer and part of applying for jobs. And so when you ask the question, what is possible? What are my choices here? Your mind kind of opens up to other possibilities, right? It's really useful to ask the right questions to change your perspective, and you can also kind of change the way you're feeling right now. Just by changing your questions, you can change your life, right?
Yeah, exactly. Today I challenged an assumption of mine and it was really helpful. It taught me a lesson. And the situation was someone shared an article about this subject. To be honest, how interesting is that? Dr. Lisa tweeted an article that she wrote for a magazine where she was talking about the research that she has made regarding how we talk to each other and how we affect each other the way we talk. And someone replied, is this scientifically proved? Because I have a fear that people are really harsh on the internet. Like I'm terrified of being criticized by someone that I don't know. My initial assumption was, oh, this person is actually questioning her research. But in fact, when I went to see the replies, the person said that they live in a country where they don't have access to scientific research. They are not also English speaker. Therefore, they were actually really surprised with that research being publicly available. And they think Dr. Lisa, for sharing it and for giving them more resources to learn more about the topic. I know this may seem pretty small, but believe me, we can live our lives believing in all of these stories that we tell ourselves and we don't realize. So when you feel like you can't see a solution for your problem, you feel like you're making these assumptions and they are not helping, go through the thoughts and questions from this guide, and bonus points if you go through this guide after you take a mental break.
This is very true. It's very common for people, even for myself, when I'm doing something and someone asks me a question about it, you just think, oh, maybe this person is questioning my knowledge or thinks that I don't know about this stuff. So it's a very common thing to do whenever someone asks you a question. You immediately think that the person is being aggressive or something. But often what happens is the person is just curious. The person just wants to know more. And I have other examples of this. So, for example, it happened to me in the past. You wake up in the morning and then you see a calendar invite from your boss that wants to talk to you at 9 a.m., And then you think, oh, okay, I'm getting fired today. It's a Friday. But actually, you're getting promoted, right? And so this is a very common thing to happen. And I think one tip I can give people is to kind of notice, you can kind of notice, start paying attention to your feelings. So whenever you're feeling stuck or you're feeling down for some reason, and then you start noticing the thoughts that come to your head, use that as a sign, use that as a symptom that you need to change your perspective. So, for example, if you ever catch yourself thinking, oh, I'm not good enough at programming, this is a sign, this is a symptom. What it means is you need to change your perspective. You need to change your mind about this. And then you ask a question. Instead of feeling down and believing on the thought, the negative thought, you just use that as a sign and then you ask the question. And then after a while, it kind of becomes automatic. It kind of becomes a habit. So whenever you're feeling a little off and you notice, oh, I'm thinking this again. Look at that. I'm thinking this thing again. Then you ask the question, how else can I think about this? What am I missing here? Right? So this is very useful.
Yeah, for sure. Something that I learned recently is that our brains, they make up our reality. We ignore most of the things that are right in front of us. So once you ask some questions, you suddenly see things that were completely out of your sight. I really like this quote from Dr. David Eagleman. He's another neuroscientist that I like to follow. And the quote is, we are aware of very little of what is out there. The brain makes time saving and resources saving assumptions and tries to see the world only as well as it needs to be. And as we realize that we are not conscious of most things until we ask ourselves questions about them, we have taken the first step in the journey of self excavation. This is a quote from his book Incognito: The Secret Lives of the Brain. And I really recommend it if you like to also explore more about how our brains work.
It's fascinating how our beliefs kind of guide our thoughts, right? So if you look again at the negative thought, I'm not good enough at coding, this is a sign that you have some belief about yourself, right? So for example, you're building something, you're trying to maybe follow a tutorial or something simple, and then you get stuck. And then automatically you think, oh, I'm not good enough at this. So there's a belief there, right? Someone else could say or could think, oh, I don't know this. That's interesting. That's something I need to learn. Or there's a possibility here that I'm missing something and I can learn more about this and be excited about it, right? You're excited that you don't know something, so you have the possibility to learn something new. And so it's just the way you think about it, it's just your perspective.
Yes, I completely agree. And I have only learned how to change my perspective recently. And what I can say is it's definitely easier and better to develop a growth mindset, because when you just believe that, there's no solution, or that's it, you're not gonna make it, or anything like that, you're not even giving yourself the possibility of exploring what's out there. I know it's not easy. It takes lots of effort and education, but I sincerely hope that this episode helped you at least feel that you're not alone. Honestly, if someone had told me just a portion of what we said here in this episode when I was transitioning to tech, I think my journey would have been way more lighter and happier. Looking back, I think that I struggled and suffered unnecessarily because of all of these beliefs that I had. I got better.
Well, I certainly love questions so much. One of my favorite questions is, what can I learn? And so, just to recap, whenever you're feeling down, you notice that you're having some thought that is not very helpful for you, just think a different thought and ask a question. So, negative thought, better thought, and a question to change your perspective. So, next time you feel like you can't see a solution for your problem, go through the thoughts and questions from the Unstuck guide, and bonus points if you go through the guide after you take a mental break or go for a walk. It helps a lot. Learning how to develop a growth mindset will make a big difference in your life. That happened to me, that happened to Stephanie as well. So we recommend you do this. And this is something that we wanted to hear when we were starting out as software developers. And we want to be that person for you. We want to help you develop that growth mindset. So make sure you print the cheat sheet and the guide and have it at hand so you can use it, so you don't forget about it. And make sure you share it with your friends that need to read this or are having some trouble. Share the podcast as well. And I hope those tips help you get unstuck in your career.
So thank you for listening. If you want to learn more about hexdevs, go to our website, hexdevs.com, and see you in the next episode.